Hello, brothers and sisters, neighbors, friends. Assalamu alaikum. Praise the Lord. Peace and blessing. Welcome to another session of Visions Now. Your summer code. I'm Dr. J. Wood, the host. Executive producer. No plays, no great matter. Information. Because vision is a presentation. New era. Broadcast network. Entertainment program. It's intellectual stimulation. Emotion fulfilled. Our communities need to evolve leadership.
Take a stand.
And inform decision making.
Stand your ground.
Our collective
Spirit dancer.
Bring
the spirit sound.
Another session.
Talking drama. Make that sacred
Down.
sound. It's our movement.
Settle back and relax.
And it's going
Let's take a
down.
tour.
Take a
Let's
stand.
go this journey. Let's
Stand your ground. Spirit dancer. Bring the spirit sound. Talking drama. Make that sacred sound. It's our movement. And it's going
It's
down.
critical when sitting around waiting on a miracle. This has become her daily ritual. Time to embrace the spiritual. Moves the tables and chairs. Takes off her shoes. Time to leave behind her cares. We all got issues, but it's not the time to bear. If you let her, she'll take you somewhere.
Take a stand.
Take a stand.
Stand your ground.
Stand your ground.
Spirit dance.
She'll take
Bring
you
the
there.
spirit down. Talking drama.
Talking
Make
drama.
that sacred sound.
Make it.
It's our
And
movement.
it's going down.
It's going
Mesmerized by her circular motions. She has the power. This is her potion. You got the time. She'll inspire an ocean. Now's the time for you to get open. A coast to walk. She wears the crown. Be it home or in a new town. Men in attendance, they always bow down. Women adore the goddess they found. Iṣẹ́ Olúwa kò lè bàjẹ́ o. 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 What the Creator has created, no man can destroy. Creator has created, no man can destroy. What the Creator has created, no man can destroy. What the Creator has created, no man can destroy. Dance to bring rain, dance to ease the pain, dance for that warm feeling, dance for the healing, dance to bring the rain, dance to ease the pain, dance for that warm feeling, dance for the healing, dance to bring the rain, dance to ease the pain, dance for that warm feeling, for the healing, dance,
stand your ground.
dance,
Spirit dancer. Bring the spirit sound. Talking drama. Make that sacred sound.
dance.
It's our movement. And it's going down. Take a stand.
No man can destroy what the Creator has created. We're gonna dance,
Make that sacred sound.
dance.
It's our movement.
We're gonna dance,
Going
dance.
Take a stand.
Gonna keep on
Stand your
dancing,
Black history.
These images aren't AI. On October 16, 1995, 1 million black men gathered on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. for an historic day of unity and atonement. They came by plane, train, bus from all over the country.
San Francisco.
Fairbanks, Alaska.
What prompted you to get on a bus and sit for 13 hours to come to Washington, D.C. today?
Well, I came out because of the unity for black men.
What do you hope to take away from this?
Well, I hope to take back to home I come from, the spirit of 1 million men out here.
While some predicted violence, there wasn't any. The Million Man March was full of speeches by various social and political leaders who urged black men to live their lives in a righteous way. Among the speakers that day, Maya Angelou, Rosa Parks, Stevie Wonder, and organizer Louis Farrakhan.
As an African-American woman, I am proud, applaud, and support our men in this assemblage.
The ancestors remind us, despite the history of pain, we are going on people who will rise again, and still we rise.
All for one, one for all.
Clean up, black man, and the world will respect and honor you.
Even the Bloods and the Crips came together at the Million Man March to preach unity.
Killing black brothers, it ain't gonna happen no more. We're tired of the killing. It's gonna stop, it will stop, and it must stop.
Black men, I come to you with much love. As we brothers on the West Coast made peace, me, myself, I was taking lives, but now I'm saving lives. Out of my heart, and before I go, young brothers, let me hear you say this one time. Keep the Million Man March alive, young brothers only.
And this is the first time I ever attended something of this magnitude, and I'm really impressed with the way the black brothers have gotten together with no incidents. Everything is so calm. We have shown today that we can come together in the masses with a peaceful demonstration with no incidents at all, and it's wonderful. So if Americans have learned anything at all, is that they have judged the black man wrong.
Black man, do what you must to support your own. Do what you must to become related to your God. Do what you must to lift up your communities by the initiative that God has placed in your heart to do for yourself, and not beg others to do for you what you must do for yourself.
When this mindset change, then we win, because we have the economic power.
We're all coming together like this. It's a black thing. It's nothing about, Haitian, Jamaican, or, North, South, West. We all come together to do this because we're in a crisis. And we need to let each other know that we are in this crisis together. Whether I'm doing good or he's doing bad, it doesn't matter, because we're in this together, because we share that common bond.
What do you think the main message of this march is?
That we need to wake up. That we all need to wake up. That we're dying here. We're dying here. And we need to wake up. And to me, that's the message.
You support Louis Farrakhan?
I mean, how could you not support someone who's doing something like this? He's uplifting his race.
What do you think about the Million Man March?
It's great. I'm proud to be here. I'm proud that my father brought me out here. This is history of the making.
What do you hope to take away from this?
I hope that the community will be able to change, like we live a better life. That people won't be scared to step outside without something happening. The black people will come out here for unity and to get together like this. The blacks, we should just come together all the time.
It's a great feeling, and this feeling will go back, and it will be carried back home, and you'll feel it.
Our history must not be forgotten or erased. The 1995 Million Man March was one of the largest peacetime gatherings in American history. As we honor and remember that day, we must also confront a question. Are black men in America better off today than they were 30 years ago? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. For BET, I'm Lodrick D. Collins.
Welcome back to Visions Now, Supper Club, and today we are commemorating the anniversary of the Million Man March. And if you'd like to put something in the chat or you'd like to call in, of course, you feel free to do so. But again, this is it's very humbling as I reflect on what I was doing at that time. And of course, I was there, and I can still feel the chills, the emotions of being one with an ocean of brothers, one mind, one soul, one destination. So I just, I don't know, it's just very, very, very humbling to know that even today, many, many years later, after the work that we put in, we are certainly, we certainly, and again, many of us continue to aspire and live that life that we committed ourselves to. And we pray that we can revitalize the spirit of the Million Man March. And we hope that certainly that we can make it, revive it to be what it should be in all of our lives. And that is, it should be a hallmark, a measuring stick by which we know whether, in other words, our manhood is connected to the whole situation. And so we want to thank you all for joining us today. And we do, we might be having a few technical difficulties, but we hope to overcome those and be able to hear the voices of those of us who were in attendance there. And perhaps some of you who were not in attendance might have some questions as well about what took place at that time. So again, this is Visions Now, your supper club, and we are today commemorating the anniversary of the Million Man March. So we're going to take a little break here and come back and continue our reflections and our discussions. And if you know someone that went, pass the word on for them to tune in as well. And let's have a little chat about our anniversary of when, though everyone who attended that march, at least for those 2-3 days, were men. Some remained men after they left. Some became men upon their visit there. And of course, others have continued to be men and doing the work that men do. Vision Now, your supper club.
Future brothers. Thank you, Brother Light, Brother Sankofa. Thank you. I've enjoyed a great day with my brothers. And I will pray that all of us would recognize, to add to what we were saying. One of the reasons why we are struggling as a people is because we have never united as a people. And the reason why we've never united, even though we've been at what point, as the book of John says, 1:1, says in the beginning was the Word, And the Word was God. The Word was with God. The Word became flesh and dwelt among men. How long will we keep on talking about black unity before it actually becomes flesh and dwells among men? Well, what we found in our study is that when you're reading a book, if you come across a word that you don't understand, but you keep reading, everything you read after that is a blank in your mind. You have to stop on what's called a misunderstood word and go to the dictionary and get a definition of it. Otherwise, everything you read from that will be a blank. Well, we've been talking about unity for 100 years. Why haven't we gotten it yet? It's because our mind has a misunderstood word. So we've been working, we've been protesting, we've been marching, we've been gathering, we've been having meetings, but it's blank. All of it's blank because we never really defined the words. We have misdefined the word unity for uniformity. We have misdefined the word unity for uniformity. So we think that uniformity is unity, meaning that if I don't wear what you wear, do what you do, and I don't do the same thing at the same place at the same time you do it, then we're not in unity with each other. But that's not unity, that's uniformity. We never are going to be uniform as a people. Never. It's a mathematical, biological impossibility for everybody to be the same. Nobody has the same fingerprint. Nobody has the same voice pattern. Nobody has the same pupil. We're all unique. So uniformity is impossible. But unity is. See, uniformity means doing the same thing at the same place at the same time. But unity means doing different things at different places at a different time, but for one common cause. The human body is not an example of uniformity. It's a model of unity. I really appreciate you, brother.
You cannot immediately unlove something that you used to love. True. Unless you never loved it in the first place. Facts. So true. And my thought for today, you cannot immediately unlove something that you used to love. True. Unless you never loved it in the first place. Facts. So true.
Don't leave a married man because he is married. When a good married man comes to you, hold him tight. See, not all women are destined to be a first wife. Some women are destined to be a second wife. Thank you. Don't leave a married man because he is married. When a good married man comes to you, hold him tight. See, not all women are destined to be a first wife. Some women are destined to be a second wife. Thank you.
Stupid bitch. That's why you're a bunch of fucking criminals. I wish you would. I wish the fuck you would. Yes, the fuck with his family. You're all a bunch of big pussies. Don't tell me.
2024 study that found that dancing is an effective treatment for depression. It said, this was in the British Medical Journal, it reviewed 218 clinical trials, and it found that dance reduced depression symptoms more than walking, more than yoga, strength training, and even standard antidepressants.
Now you know why I dance into what to watch. Come on,
girl,
let's go! Woo!
Hello, everyone.
Resting place. I also say to the so-called welfare rights groups, no one has a right to be a parasite. In the science of living, we teach self-responsibility, self-sufficiency, self-direction, and discipline. First of all, we believe that each individual is responsible for himself to himself. We do not believe that society is responsible for the individual, but that the individual is responsible to himself, to make the very most of himself, and to make his own way in life. Any kind of help that does not help an individual to help himself is criminal. People get certain attitudes that, well, society owes me something, the world owes me something. But I think that the individual is responsible for himself, and the individual owes it to himself to become self-sufficient, self-supporting, self-responsible, and self-directed. And this is what we teach in our philosophy, the science of living. Well,
Here it is. all black people, but this is some serious trigger warning shit. I'm going to let y'all know. I'm very upset. This is going to piss you the fuck off. So I'm just going to play it, and then I'm going to react afterwards. But just...
We've been in this land for more now than 400 years. And we know coming out of 1855, I think we founded more than 1,200 Black communities. The necessity of that day forced us into that. But we also know that in that period of time between 1865 and 1960, most of those communities were destroyed, or we were driven out by Jim Crow laws and by really terrorist sheriff and police departments. But many of our communities were burned to the ground and our people displaced right here in good old the United States of America. So much of what the minister was saying in terms of their blueprint and their plan, they've carried a lot of that out. But our resilience have been a little bit more than I think they expected. We know that we've been in this land for more now than 400 years. And we know coming out of 1865, I think we founded more than 1,200 Black communities.
Say this to the believers. Allah says in the Quran, I'm going to try you at least once a year severely. You don't know how that trial is going to come up. He tries you by what you love. None of us expected to lose Mother Tynetta. A trial. But the sovereign Lord has a right to take us when he desires. You can break down and fall down and cuss God if you're a fool. Because it won't be long before we'll be traveling that road ourselves. So death should not be feared. Because there is no death for the righteous. How did the master say it? He said, I don't fear the one that can kill the body. Because the body was made to go back to the earth. I fear him who can kill both body and soul. The Quran says it. The prophet was sick. But he was young. Only 62 and a half years. That's young. Jesus was even younger. So those of you who want to live long life, I can't blame you. But live long life in what shape? When you have given health and strength to a nation, you don't want to hang on when you can't give that strength no more. You don't want to hang around and let those whom you strengthen see you crawling around. It's time to go. You've done your work. You can't run from death. Try it. Go get in a cave and lock yourself in. Get enough food supply. Help yourself. Death is not going to find you here. It already located you. So since you can't run from death, Elijah Muhammad said, I can't stop you from dying, but I'm like a traffic cop standing in front of the grave, holding back your rush into the grave by teaching you how to eat to live, the best foods to eat, how to grow your food, how to take care of that life that God has given you. I'm going to say this.
Speaking about men, men really only like 10% of the equation. Women are 90% of the equation. So once that conversation is over, now we have to turn the mirror towards women. And what you find out is that in these dynamics, 90% of the discussion has to be on women. I find that women are very, very narcissistic, and they do not realize it. I think women lack a lot of self-awareness. This is not me taking sides, because I believe that the world is in shambles. All of this has to do with human behavior and how the sexes relate to each other and how the sexes relate to the planet. It's not all on men. Speaking about,
You don't continue to think on the thought, then the thought without more thought only is a thought that comes and goes. And you will say when somebody else comes up with the thought but thinks on the thought, they stole my idea. They stole my stuff. They making the money and I ain't got nothing. Dirty, low down thief. Wait a minute, fool. You don't have any corner on thought. You don't have any specific corner on imagery. Many of you have good thoughts, but you do nothing about what you think. So the thought was an opportunity that you blew because you didn't do by the thought what you should have done. You got to think on the thought. Thank you. You have to think on the thought. And thinking on the thought is feeding the thought. Then the thought develops into an idea. And that idea has with it a plan, a scheme, a method of fulfilling and concretizing what was a mental image.
September 22nd, 2025, a date that sent ripples through the world of science, politics, and power. From the heart of Ouagadougou, President Ibrahim Traoré made an announcement that stunned both allies and critics. Burkina Faso would invest directly in Maxwell Chikumbutso, the controversial Zimbabwean inventor long dismissed by Western institutions. 3 projects, 1 vision. A nation without nuclear plants or oil reserves daring to build the foundation of Africa's energy independence. For decades, African innovation has been exported, silenced, or rebranded abroad. But this time, the invention would remain on African soil, built by African hands, funded by African capital, and protected by African leadership. Analysts called it reckless, supporters called it revolutionary. Financial observers estimated an initial $120 million USD partnership aimed at transforming Ouagadougou into a continental energy hub. As international headlines question Traoré's bold move, one question rises above the noise. Is this the birth of a new African industrial age, or the most daring gamble of the decade? Stay with us, because when power, both political and electrical, changes hands, the future of an entire continent begins to glow. Burkina Faso, a nation of over 20 million people, lives each day under the silent weight of dependence. Nearly 80% of its electricity and fuel comes from imported diesel, transported through fragile supply chains stretching thousands of miles across the Sahel. When those borders close, whether from sanctions, politics, or war, the result is devastating. Hospitals dim, schools go silent. Even the army's trucks stall on empty roads. It's not just a power outage. It's a paralysis of sovereignty. For decades, this cycle of dependence has been carefully maintained by an international system designed to keep nations like Burkina Faso open markets, not self-sustaining societies. Western oil conglomerates write the rules, while financial institutions must buy the very fuel that keeps those same corporations alive. It's a paradox dressed as progress, and the people pay the price. In 2023 alone, Burkina Faso spent over $600 million importing fuel, a figure larger than its entire education budget. Every drop of diesel burned was a reminder of how far real independence still was. And so the anger grew, not the loud kind that fills the streets, but the quiet kind that fills the heart of a generation tired of waiting. In that silence, one question began to echo from Ouagadougou to Harare. How long can a nation claim freedom while renting its own electricity? This question, simple, raw, and unavoidable, would soon spark a radical response. And it begins with Ibrahim Traoré's most audacious move yet. The speech that changed everything began not in a palace, but in a dusty hall filled with engineers, students, and soldiers. President Ibrahim Traoré stood before them and declared with unshakable calm, "Our hospitals cannot beg for diesel. Our children cannot study by candlelight." Those words echoed far beyond Burkina Faso. They were a manifesto. For the first time in modern African history, a head of state openly framed energy as a matter of sovereignty, not charity. Traoré wasn't asking for aid, he was demanding dignity. Analysts compared his tone to Truman's post-war determination and Kennedy's New Frontier, but this time it was Africa writing its own Marshall Plan. A plan built not on loans or pipelines, but on innovation and belief. He announced the creation of a National Energy Sovereignty Fund, seeded with gold and cotton revenue, roughly $80 million USD, to finance renewable research within Burkina Faso. The message was clear: dependence is no longer an option. But behind this vision stood one question that electrified the continent. Who would provide the technology bold enough to make this dream real? The answer, controversial yet captivating, came from a name few expected: Maxwell Chikumbutso. He was called mad, genius, and myth, sometimes all in the same sentence. Maxwell Chikumbutso, born in the suburbs of Harare, never finished high school. At 14, he dropped out and built his first circuit board from discarded radios. While others were learning from textbooks, he was learning from trial and fire, building devices that shouldn't have worked, yet somehow did. By his mid-20s, he claimed to have achieved the impossible: an electric car that recharged itself by capturing ambient radio frequency energy, a 10-kilowatt generator that ran without fuel, drones and radar systems that could fly 5 times longer than those powered by lithium batteries, and a television set that required no cables, no plug, no battery, powered entirely by invisible waves in the air. Western media laughed. Patent offices hesitated. Funding agencies turned away. But one man didn't laugh: Ibrahim Traoré. Where the world saw controversy, Traoré saw potential. And more importantly, freedom. If even one of Maxwell's technologies proved viable, it could alter Africa's energy equation forever. Imagine a continent where hospitals no longer depend on diesel, where rural schools light up without a grid, where the poorest villages leapfrog the industrial stages that once took centuries. Critics called it unscientific. Investors called it too risky. Yet, in 2025, Traoré invited Maxwell to Ouagadougou, not for a photo opportunity, but for a field-level experiment, a partnership worth an estimated $50 million in research, prototyping, and pilot installations. For Traoré, this was not about one man's invention. It was about reclaiming the right to imagine, something colonial systems had long denied Africa. As the world watched in disbelief, one question grew louder. What if the very idea they mocked turned out to be the spark that reignites a continent's future? It happened beneath the earth, a night hidden from cameras, but destined to illuminate history. September 23, 2025. Inside the presidential bunker of Ouagadougou, every light was off. Engineers stood silent, generals watched, skeptical but curious. In the center of the room stood Maxwell Chikumbutso, his hands resting on a small gray device, no bigger than a briefcase, but heavier with meaning than any weapon. The countdown began. 30 seconds, then light. Not from a generator, not from fuel, but from something unseen. Energy harvested from the air itself. Monitors came alive, ventilation roared back, and a pale glow painted the flag of Burkina Faso hanging behind President Ibrahim Traoré. A general whispered, half in awe, half in disbelief. To do this with diesel, we'd need 25 liters every hour. Traoré stepped forward, his voice low but resolute. If we master this technology, Africa will never kneel again. The room froze, not in fear, in revelation. For decades, African nations had begged for electricity, borrowing billions just to keep the lights on. But now, in this bunker, a different kind of light was born, one powered not by oil, but by imagination. Analysts would later call it the bunker moment, a metaphorical sunrise beneath the soil. But that night, no one cared about headlines. They were witnessing a continent rediscovering its potential. Because if power could be created from nothing but waves and will, what else had the world told Africa was impossible? Within 48 hours of the Ouagadougou experiment, the world economy trembled. A confidential photo leaked, Traoré standing beside Maxwell, holding the compact generator that had powered an entire bunker without fuel. Within minutes, financial terminals from New York to Tokyo flashed red. Oil prices plunged by 20%, wiping nearly $700 billion USD from global energy markets. Tesla and Panasonic, giants of the electric age, saw a combined $150 billion USD erased in a single trading day. What began as a local innovation now threatened an entire world order built on dependency. Major networks hesitated. Was it real? A hoax? A threat? But on social media, a different voice emerged. Millions across Africa, Asia, and Latin America sharing the same phrase, "Hope has arrived." In Lagos, students projected Maxwell's image onto university walls. In Sao Paulo, activists marched with banners reading, "Energy without debt." Meanwhile, analysts on Wall Street called it a geopolitical earthquake. Behind closed doors, think tanks scrambled to assess the risk. If this device worked even at 5% efficiency, Africa could redefine the global balance of energy, no longer as a supplier of raw materials, but as a producer of innovation. For the first time in modern history, the shockwave did not begin in Washington or Beijing. It started in Ouagadougou, carried not by soldiers or sanctions, but by light. And as the markets tried to recover, one question haunted the halls of power. What happens when the continent once controlled for its begins control? On one Ouagadougou mosques chanting, "Africa can power itself." For many, the invention was more than a breakthrough. It was redemption, proof that the continent could finally create rather than consume. Local newspapers called it the light of sovereignty. But inside the parliament, the tone was different. Economists warned of risk. Opposition figures demanded caution. What if this is another illusion? What if it drains our limited budget? They cited the numbers: $47 million USD allocated from Burkina Faso's Innovation Fund, 15% of next year's national R&D budget. A bold move for a country still recovering from sanctions and drought. Some investors feared the government was betting the nation on untested science. Meanwhile, within the military high command, anxiety grew. Intelligence briefings hinted that foreign interests were already probing, not for oil this time, but for data, patents, and access. A senior officer reportedly said, "When you stop buying their fuel, you become the fuel." The debate spread to every cafe, classroom, and living room. Was this the dawn of energy independence, or the start of a new kind of struggle? For President Traoré, it was more than technology. It was philosophy. The bunker test had proved the science worked, but sustaining it would test something far deeper, belief. And so, the nation stood at a crossroads, half in light, half in shadow, asking the same question the rest of the world now whispered. Can one of the poorest countries on Earth truly lead humanity into a post-fuel age? It spread faster than wildfire, not through battlefields, but through data cables, trading floors, and diplomatic channels. The night of the bunker test had barely faded when the first intelligence cables began circling Washington, Paris, and Brussels. Unconfirmed African free energy prototype, potential global disruption. Within hours, oil futures plunged again, and boardrooms across the Western world were flooded with one question: could it be real? Across Africa, however, the tone was different. In Bamako, Niamey, and Conakry, government ministers issued joint statements calling for the creation of a Pan-African Energy Alliance, a framework to pool resources, share patents, and coordinate research free from IMF conditionality. In Lagos, engineers volunteered to replicate Maxwell's prototype. In Nairobi, students painted murals of Traoré and Maxwell under the words, "Africa will light itself." But in the West, the narrative took a darker tone. Washington, Paris, and Brussels labeled the breakthrough a strategic threat. Analysts warned that African energy nationalism could destabilize not only OPEC but also the trillion-dollar infrastructure of global finance tied to fossil fuels. Behind closed doors, a classified memo from the U.S. National Security Council framed the situation bluntly. If validated, this technology represents the single greatest erosion of Western leverage since decolonization. The intelligence agencies moved quickly. According to leaked briefings, representatives linked to the CIA and DGSE quietly approached Maxwell Chikumbutso through intermediaries, offering $20 billion USD for global licensing rights, a sum larger than Burkina Faso's entire GDP. Maxwell refused. His response, recorded and later leaked, was simple: "This is not for..."
Long live the spirit of the Million Man March.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 30 years and strong.
How many must die before we unify?
I tell you, brother, that's the X factor.
Right. So again, I'd like to welcome to the stage Dr. Henry M. Carter. And this is a special reunion here with him because Brother Carter, Brother Henry was the student minister here in Columbus, Georgia at the time of the Million Man March. And he and I were a team coordinating pretty much South Georgia involvement in the Million Man March, and I think that we were quite successful in that motion, and of course following that, the Million More movement, and we've been Million More movement alumni, so it's indeed a pleasure to have him here with us today, and to start off with Brother Henry. How do you feel today? I mean, what are your thoughts today as we commemorate that historic day of atonement and rededication and expression of who we are, particularly as black men in America. So what goes through your mind?
You know, Dr. Hud, and for me, it's almost as when Moses went on the mount, and in the scriptures it say he saw the burning bush, and it was a spiritual feeling for me, because I had the opportunity to peep into the proverbial heaven and see what it looked like when we come together in unity, what it looks like when we have one aim, one focus, and one purpose, what it looks like when you have black men come together and no one is killing anybody, no one is threatening anyone, and people were showing love, that love we had not seen on that level since our sojourn here in America, our enslavement in America. We had not seen that. And we had an opportunity to see something that I don't know if this generation would get the opportunity to see, but I am hopeful that the spirit of the Million Man March is so powerful that our young brothers and sisters today will get infected with that spirit and exceed the 2 million and take 4 million to Washington, D.C. to create a new paradigm shift.
You know, as you're talking, I'm reminiscent of how well and how wonderful it is when brothers come dwell together in unity and love. I think there's a quote there someplace in one of those holy books.
Psalm 133:1.
That's right. I knew you were gonna snap it up.
Yes, sir.
And that has a special meaning. And so therefore it's like you say, is that it's almost like having a visit to heaven. And so at least you know what heaven feels like. And I go back to the feeling. I mean the eyes and the ears, but it's just the feeling of knowing that really 2 million black men, original men of God, found themselves together and reaffirmed our identity. And I guess, starting off, it was the work and we were doing it and that type of thing. It's kind of, we laborers, we soldiers. And so, but again, when it really hit me though, was on the highway, when all of a sudden it seemed like everybody on the highway going up the expressway to DC, all of a sudden, everybody on the highway was going to the same place we were going. I mean, all of a sudden, then we stopped at a rest stop, and everybody was in the restroom, everybody was in the parking lot, and everybody was just so high. And that's when I knew there's something special, something different about this experience here. And that's when it dawned. And of course, getting there at dawn and hearing the dawn, and people were already there. And it just, again, it's the type of situation where I don't even know if we can convey to the generation, because we played a video earlier where the brothers from the West Coast were saying that they had a peace treaty, and one of the brothers was saying that he had previously been what do you say, killing brothers, but after today he's going to be saving brothers. I mean, in other words, in the Bloods and the Crips and all, they had a big banner. It's again, and I'm reminiscent of kind of what's going on today, and we know that there remains of that spirit, and the work is going on, but somehow it's being drowned out by some of the dynamics. And in many respects, I think that our opposition put in some extra work after that to make sure that rhythm, that vibration was stunted. What do you say?
And you're right on point, Dr. Hud. First, I want to hit the point about the feeling that you were talking about that we experienced. I had the fortunate opportunity to be on the stage for the Million Man March. I was posted there from the beginning to the end. And so I was put on that stage at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so I had the chance to see the sun rise, and I heard the Adhan. As a matter of fact, I have a very huge picture I had painted in my house of a photo that one of the brothers took of me standing on the stage. And I look at that picture every single day. And I am constantly reminded of that spiritual feeling of seeing the sun rise and hearing the Adhan and hearing the echo off of the buildings in Washington, D.C., and seeing the crowd convene and feeling the energy that went through my body as if I had touched an electric socket with wet hands. And that became the energy that propelled me forward to this day now, 30 years later. But I like to say this is that we have an opportunity to take that energy again and hit a reset button in the minds of our young brothers and sisters who has been purposely attacked by our enemies to try to erase that feeling of the Million Man March. You don't hear media talking about it. You don't hear anybody reminiscing about it. It's because they don't want the people to be awake. The so-called mega party has this slogan about people are too woke. And I tell people the absence of the opposite of woke is to be sleep. They don't want you to be woke. And so after
I would even offer to say the opposite of being woke is to be dead.
It's to be dead. And they didn't want this generation to remember the Million Man March. They have no problem resetting and going back to the March on Washington with our beloved brother, Dr. Martin Luther King, because they want to use that as a starting point. But they don't want to hit the 1995 Million Man March because that meant a mental liberation turning point. And they are afraid of that, just like that clip you were just showing before we came on about Brother Ibrahim and Burkina Faso and the electricity. Whenever we get to a point where we're having a mental liberation, the enemy gets afraid that he would no longer have control. But I believe that the Creator is about to create another paradigm shift. And this time it's going to be a sustaining mental liberation.
I hasten to go back into history a little bit, in particular our history, about what were the conditions under which and why was it that this particular mad scientist created an explosion that created the moon.
When we look at that history, it's because he wants the destruction and fear to be the order of the day, but he fears advancement. He fears technology because it is the ignorance among the people that have given him the power. But when the people come into the knowledge of light, I teach history. And when we go back and look at whether we're looking at the Cushites or the Egyptians, or we're looking at the ancient Ghana, or if we're looking at the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayans, or the Olmecs, we see that all of them had advanced knowledge and advanced science. But when they accounted the Europeans were afraid of this knowledge because it put in question the term of white supremacy. How can you say we're supreme when there are people who have a superior knowledge to us? And so we're experiencing that today.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because as a psychologist and I'm a psycho historian, is not really, you know, and again, I hate for people to use that term, white supremacy. What it is inferiority.
Yes.
So because, you know, because if you are superior, you have no adversary, you have no competition.
Yes.
You don't have to. I mean, when you walk on the court, if you got it like that, you won't. Yeah, come on, you know, come on and get some of this. I mean, you know, it's like that. It's not like you're trying to put some poison in the water. You're trying to break their legs so they can't shoot. No, you want them fit because you know that's going to up your game. So from a standpoint, America has been basically a nation born from trauma, from a traumatized people who found themselves basically in a position of control. Is like the children, like the parents are absent and the children take over. It's like Lord of the Flies. I don't know if you saw that movie.
Yes, sir. I'm most definitely familiar. Yes, sir.
And I use them. It's like Lord of the Flies when the adults are away, subdued in some way. The children, they fall apart and become self-destructive. And so that's what we find today. We have children ruling the world today. And so therefore, that's why they do not understand the ramifications of their behavior, because the fact of the matter is that when we win as the original people, everybody wins. In other words, we want everybody to win, but we have no competition. They are not our opposition, you know, and so therefore they're making themselves. They're trying to inject themselves into a paradigm and a narrative that they have no place in, and I think that is what troubles them. That they do not have anything to offer. They have always had a culture of duplication or replication with a culture of vultures, and so therefore, what we're saying is that they don't have to. We would give them whatever they need for them to feel whole once they get healthy enough to be able to appreciate it. And of course, when we're talking about the system that is perpetuating the mentality, because there are many people of that persuasion who do honor and understand who the fathers and mothers of this creation is. And so therefore, they have a difficult time trying to navigate in this environment as well. And so therefore, that is part of what it is that they are going to have to, we would do our part because that's part of it, that to a great extent, we spend a lot of time trying to heal them. And in the meantime, we start neglecting our own children, start neglecting our own culture and our own duty to our own responsibility as being the fathers and mothers of this creation, within this creation. And so as a result of that, we have to challenge them to fix each other. You know, we have to, and so therefore I think that we need to change our political posturing and stop demanding and stop begging and expecting people to change on our behalf. That this is a dynamic between them. It's not really even about us. So therefore, the best among them, and I'm reminded of the story of the mystic grandfather and talking to his grandson, and he's talking to him about life. And he was telling that his grandson that life is about the battle of the wolves, and that there are two wolves within everybody that are battling over the spirit and the soul, and therefore that will determine the future. And the grandson asked the grandfather, well, grandfather, who's going to win? And the grandfather said, the one you feed. So therefore, if you feed the good wolf will win. If you feed the bad wolf, then the bad wolf will win. So I say that to say that within our people, we must feed the better wolf among us.
Yes.
And we have to challenge other people to feed the better wolf among them. It's not about us versus them. It's about them versus themselves as it is us versus ourselves.
Yes. And you're right on point, Dr. Hud, is that we have to remind our youth of their greatness. You know, we have to remind them that before we were in the halls of slave ship, we built great civilizations, and that we are genetically coded to build great civilizations. That's why we were able to build this country, and we're not in their institutions. Why we could not read, we could not write, but they had no problem with telling us to build. Why? Because we're genetically coded to be great. And once we rekindle that greatness in our young people, we're going to see a tremendous and exponential growth that occur. And you're right, we are the savior of the world. And I think we're reaching a tipping point right now where the rest of the world is seeing that. I think what we're seeing right now in the atmosphere of this country and the world is the sun setting on that mindset. And after this great explosion that's going on right now, I think we're going to see a dawn of a new mindset where people are going to be forced. They're going to be forced to have to listen to the original man and woman for their salvation. Something that I was looking at the other day was saying right now around 2250, the resources of this planet would be so depleted that majority of the population will not be able to be sustained. Well, that means you're going to have to turn to the original people and the innovation to save. And that's why we're going to have to continue to keep the spirit of the Million Man March alive. If it ain't nothing but those of us who went to the Million Man March, disciple 12 young men, and indoctrinate them with the spirit of the Million Man March and make them know the pledge of the Million Man March and make them learn the atonement. And then we send them throughout the world to make a difference. We got to do our part to make sure that that spirit does not die. But I think we're about to see a paradigm shift occur very soon because we're at a tipping point right now.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I'm going to try to make a little adjustment here because I want to invite my brother who was there as well. And I guess I'm going to have to get him. I'm going to have to get him on the phone because we're having some technical difficulties. Yes, sir. So you're on live, brother. And I was telling Dr. Henry Carter, who was on the stage at the Million Man March, you know, he was the minister, but he was on security on the stage at that time. That we were there, and I wanted to go in and put you on, you know, with your voice since we couldn't see your handsome face, you know, showing the blessing of the ancestors in you. But we're gonna get your voice anyway. So tell us a little bit about Detroit and how Detroit came about, because I think Detroit probably had one of the largest delegations that traveled to the Million Man March in terms of major cities, outside of maybe those who was in New York and just came down the street. But other than that, but I think that. So tell us a little bit about what was the mood like, and how you as a businessman, how how you what role you played in assuring that Detroit was well represented. Are you there? Hello? Can you hear me? Greg? Hello? Hello? I heard it for a moment. I don't know if hello? Let's see. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Okay, you're breaking up. I can't. You're breaking up. Call me right back. Call me right back. I don't know. Maybe. Hello. Oh, it's right. Okay. Hello. Okay.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Right, right. Did you hear my question?
Yes, I did. You
Okay.
were asking about how Detroit got engaged and what the Million Man March meant to Detroit.
Right.
No, that is good. First of all, thank you for allowing me to be on. It is always a pleasure. Obviously, to connect with you, my blood brother.
That's right.
And brother in God as well.
That's
so,
right.
So it's a pleasure to be on the show. I think this might be my second or third time in 20, 30 years that
Right.
you've done
Right,
this
right.
thing that you've blessed the community of Columbus and Alabama with your knowledge. My second, third time being able to be on and share some comments. You know, the Million Man March was both exciting, invigorating, and good for the people coming out of Detroit when it happened. And it's interesting because for me, I was considering going and really didn't get up and charged up to go until a friend from the old neighborhood called one day and said, "Hey, Greg, we need to go to the Million Man March. You need to be one of the people to kind of lead the charge and let's grab brothers out of the neighborhood and we're just gonna go and we're gonna come out. We're not staying the night, we're not doing anything, we're just going and we're gonna get the spirit of what this is." And of course, Minister Farrakhan did not disappoint. He didn't disappoint at all. I oftentimes quote some of the things that he mentioned in his address, even today. But as it relates to the spirit of the march in Detroit was charged up, and I think it was at a time when Detroit was at one of its lowest points, and Detroit needed something. Black men in Detroit needed something, as well as the women in Detroit saw, and I think across the nation saw, that Black men needed something to rally around. And I found it amazing that the sisters were encouraging men across country, you need to go to this. Take your son with you.
That's right.
Go grab your brother from down the street. And I'm not sure why the momentum happened like it was, but I think it was as true in Detroit as it was in other parts of the country that we needed the Million Man March at that time. Now, what's interesting about it is that we need a Million Man March today, too.
Yes,
because as much as things have changed, things have stayed the same. And that spirit and that let's go get them that came out the march, I wish somehow we could have sustained it the way it needed to be sustained, because there's so much work to be done and there's so much more progress that we probably could have made. So that's not to throw a damp rag or on the success of the march, but it is to suggest that we still need that type of inspiration and that type of let's go get them, let's all work together, and it just doesn't seem to be out here right now.
Right. You know, one of the things, Greg, and also Dr. Henry and I were just talking about is that I think that, you know, we did it, and I think that that many things that people kind of take for granted were the products of it even today. But I think what happened was that we also did not quite understand the impact of the opposition. And the opposition, of course, they upped their game, and that's pretty much what it was that we did not let the emotion of it, we did not let it evolve into our mindset, and then to basically give movement to it, because we didn't realize that as you mentioned that the squeeze was put us back in survival mode, put us back into a survival mode and mentality, so that we could not come to that point to stay together, because people had to get back, and then some people lost their job. In other words, a lot of this movement, even today, really, if you watch it, a lot of the momentum that we have today is a result of the fact that march there was something that still they try to forget, but the fact of the matter is that they do know that there's a generation that was touched, and so that's why they reached into the schools, into the neighborhoods, and made sure that, and then, as you know, what happened in Detroit after the rioting thing, what happened? Drugs came in real strong then.
Yeah.
So just understand that there was a bigger movement with structure already. And I would also say this: there was some opposition in our community that were afraid that all the people were going to become Muslims, and so as a result of that, people started biting off different parts, not understanding that is not an issue. It's about us coming together and building, because the nation had put in an example, a model, that if people had connected, whether it was the fish, whether it was the independent schools. In other words, today there are people revisiting that model now, saying, hey, we should have been doing this, and then we would have been prepared for what is going on today. We would have had our own grocery stores that we did on Linwood. We would have had our own school, like what's going on without the AI going on. In other words, so my point is that I think this time that we will have learned a lesson that we, just like we can model our opposition, we need to model those who are among us, regardless of what persuasion, identity they have, because I heard a Christian pastor say there are a lot of worse things than being a Muslim. He said, as a matter of fact, Jesus was a Muslim. If you get into it, all the prophets were Muslims. So therefore, when you start teaching people to run away from being a Muslim, you're basically having them to run away from our destiny and doing those things that you're talking about.
Very good points. We I think that when we think about the Million Man March and the impact that it had on our community, that it had on the country, and let me say that there are always folk at work in powers and principalities that are working against what is good for the whole.
Well, for everybody. Exactly.
Yeah, for everybody. But what we continue to fail to do is to have an action plan that is executed when the emotion is over.
Right.
When the emotion passes, everybody come back and said he was there, and we got, you got the T-shirt and you wear it proudly. But what do you do with that now? And it kind of reminds me of, a few of the conversations we had a few weeks ago when you talked about your ministry that you have in the prisons, and how you talk to the guys about, okay, so what did that wrong that you did get you based on where you're sitting right now. What's your action plan now?
Right.
What are you gonna do next when you go back out into the community? Not only to save yourself, but to save the rest of the community. So I think that we've got to do a better job of moving with purpose after the emotion has subsided. Because the emotion, after the emotion has subsided.
Exactly. Also, we just had joined with another brother who was there, Brother Clarence Muhammad from Birmingham, because we got some kinfolks up there in Birmingham, and I think you know some of them, Brother Clarence. But again, we're just here. We're having a reunion here. We have Mr. Greg Jackson, my brother, from our mother, not from another mother, from our mother, and Brother Henry Carter, a brother from another mother, and have you, a brother from another mother. So tell us a little bit about your reflections on this very powerful day that we celebrate the anniversary of the Million Man March.
I'm grateful. Greetings and assalamu alaikum and hotep and all that to everybody. I can almost say that I was experienced every last march or movement that the minister had over the last 30 years. And I think the first march was mind blowing. When you heard the minister speak and talk about it and travel the country, we travel the country and tell folks it's gonna happen. And you think you're a good Muslim or a good activist or whatever, but until you witness them people going on the mall by the tens of thousands and the sun goes up and you got a whole what the big Bible saying exceedingly great army, it's unbelievable. And then for the minister to come back, do it in 96, come back, do it in 2000, come back, do it again, 2005, come back, and then do it again in 2015. But I think it was a pedestal and a training ground to prepare those of us that were Muslims and Christians of how to engage and interact with each other and how to expand our approach and reach in the community. If we look at it on a broader sense, I think it was very much a real good training ground. I think it, on one end, the march first happened in 95, it upset the churches and the national leaders. But in a sense, when the minister came back in 2005 and expanded the language, expanded the concept of the Millions More movement, it upset the hierarchy in the nation and other organizations. And so it's very transformative. If you really look at the impact that it did, and it created a cadre of new leadership, in the nation, in terms of young people going out into the community and trying to build alliances and to do work. So I think it's beautiful and it's ongoing. And it's ongoing, and it's still here, and people are still being affected by it.
Dr. Hud, we can quantify the change that the Million Man March has had by looking at some of the indicators in our community. I was looking at some data that showed from 1995 up into 2025, we seen an increase in high school graduation rates. We seen the increase in college graduation rates. We see the increase in Black businesses. So we have seen some noticeable improvement. There would have not been a presidency of Barack Obama if it had not been for the Million Man March and that mindset of the possibility of Black male leadership being planted as a result of the Million Man March paved the way for there to be the first Black president of the United States. So there are some tangible things that we can put our hands on to say that the Million Man March had an impact on it. And so, I think that as scientists, as you and I are and other people, it is incumbent upon us to continue to quantify the impact of the Million Man March, document it, do the research on it, have it peer reviewed, and then publish it for unborn generations to be able to use it as a blueprint to continue to build as we move forward. But there is some growth that has come out of it, not just a feel good, but there is a quantitative benefit that the Million Man March has contributed.
Yeah, let me say this, and I'm going to ask my brother Greg to follow on this. I'm going to have each one of you to respond to it. My contention is that the most progress, which that took place, it was political progress. We had more elected officials and that type of thing that came out of the Million Man March than preceded it. Now, but this is the problem. As you know, many of us, our position is that economics before politics. But what happened was because of the atmosphere, we have put politics ahead of economics. So I think now what it means is that we have now more millionaires, more billionaires, but we're going to have to bring about some accountability. And so what I want to say is now what should, from your standpoint, we'll start with you, Brother Greg, then we go back to Brother Clarence, and then Dr. Carter. Okay, what do you see as major initiatives? I'm going to put out, I think that the movement for banks and the movement for farming and food, economics, to make sure that we have grocery stores, as well as medical capabilities and banking institutions, as well as education institutions, our HBCUs. I think those should be our focus on economics, and that every student that go to HBCU should have a dual focus. That is, one of getting a job, but the primary one should be all of them should also know how to start a business. So, Brother Greg, baby brother, what would you say should be, I think, the economic vision that we must have now? Because my thing is that forget about integration, forget about assimilation. We are a pluralistic society, and so now it's about every tub standing on its own bottom, so to speak. That's where America is. So economically, what do you think the agenda should be, Brother Greg?
I mean, I wholeheartedly agree.
That's a good question, and there are no simple answers. I believe that history has taught us that none of those things, politics, economics, none of them, education, none of them stand alone.
That's right.
Unless we have an integrated approach, attack.
That's right.
Where we are. You mentioned HBCUs, and I went to HBCU and proud graduate Morris Brown, Atlanta University, where our educational institutions are doing, their job, and part of their job, as you just mentioned, is to not only teach the reading, writing, and arithmetic, but teach people, how to live, teach our students how to produce for themselves.
Right.
So entrepreneurship and providing for your community, it should be, and really has always been part of the HBCU.
Right.
Just
Exactly.
how they've always been. We've always been taught at HBCU. It's almost like here over the last 15, 20, 25 years, people have discovered that there's HBCUs out there, even though they've been out there 150 years doing that job. So from an education standpoint, that's important. We have to have strong political placements and people in
That's right.
strong political places, but not only on a national level, but locally. I mean, our counties and our cities and our townships, you know, the city councils and mayors, we have to have folks in politics, because so much of the economics of any community surrounds what's the money's being spent by governments.
That's right.
And who's controlling those monies, and where do those monies go? We often talk, brother, about how the monies are being allocated to solutions that don't serve the community. Like when we talk about building a whole lot of jails, but we don't spend $100 million to build a jail. We want to spend $100 to truly do something to rehabilitate somebody, to make sure they don't go to jail, or to make sure they don't go. So from a politics standpoint, we have to be in those places all the time. Okay. And then on the economic side of things, yes, we have to have businesses, but not only have business, you know, we've got to live the principles of cooperative economics.
That's right.
You know, Ujamaa. And Ujamaa. And these aren't hard things. All people shop within their community.
That's right.
You know, I'm not sure why it's so hard for us to go and spend money. Well, I know part of it goes all the way back 400 years to Willie Lynch. How we had, you know, and we stuff like that, and the brainwashing, Stockholm syndrome, where we have this, you know, this feeling that somehow if I go spend money with Dr. Hood, you know, he might end up with, I don't know, more cars or house or shoes or whatever. People want to have.
He might think he's better than me.
Yeah, you know, but it's okay to give it to.
That's right.
Somebody
the
out.
opposition.
Somebody out.
The opposition.
Yeah, somebody outside of the community.
Right.
And I was having a conversation with the brother today, and I was telling him, I said, well, you know, because I'm in the auto business. I own auto dealerships, and you know, I always trying to get people to come buy cars with me. I said, well, why would you not come by with me? I was telling this guy who had went and bought a car from, I'll say, Mr. Epstein.
Your opposition.
Yeah, and he was saying, well, wow, why are you against him? I said, well, you know, that's the problem. Me being for me has never meant that I was against anybody else. Right. And in other communities, they understand that.
Right. But then if you prosper, you can contribute more. That's the whole idea. But and I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm gonna jump to Brother Clarence here, because you just opened up something there about the politicians too. Because I know one of our problems is we get people in there, but they don't work for us. They work for the opposition. So we got the people. So part of that process, I think you made the point, is that it's not enough to just get people in there, but we got to hold them accountable to certain types of principles like Ujamaa, in order for us really to make the difference that we need. So, Brother Clarence.
Are you happy to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I would say it really boils down to economics. You know, to follow with your point, we generate $1 trillion. And so if we're able to leverage our economics, we're able to do a lot more. I think the beauty of what happened at COVID, when we had COVID and the shutdown, is it folks start to develop a home-based business, a lot of, you know, going out and doing shops and that type of thing. So it created a whole lot more people interested in business development. And give people options of how to make money and how to support each other. So I think that we have to do is.
So if that was one thing, time is winding down a bit. But if that was one thing you think we need to be doing as a commemoration to the Million More Movement anniversary here, what would that initiative be? What do you think we should do?
Educate people on why it's important to share our dollars with you. I think one of
in other words, to elevate Ujamaa as a principle throughout all of our institutions.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Henry Carter.
You know, Dr. Hud, very quickly, on the back of this right here, this dollar bill, there's an eagle, and in that eagle's mouth is a ribbon. And that ribbon says, E pluribus unum. Out of many shall come one. What we're going to have to do is to go amongst our people, our young people, and identify those young brothers and sisters that we are going to invest in with our time, our talent, and our treasure. We give them their mission. We support them with the resources. We have a consistent agenda. And I just like to add this up about what recently happened with that new savior that they created from among themselves with the name of CK. That CK did something that we can buy from. He went on college campuses and started recruiting young people for their agenda.
Right.
We're gonna have to put our people who we bring out, these young people, send them to college campus with a shared agenda. And we're going to have to produce the entrepreneurs. We're going to have to produce the politicians, and we're going to have to strategically place them, and we're going to have to financially support them so they don't be beholden to anybody else, so they can be unbossed and unbought. That's what we're going to have to do, just like the Jewish community do, just like the Asian community do. They create their leaders, they create their business people, they finance them, strategically place them, and give them their marching orders.
And they invest in them to perpetuate the wealth within. So again,
Exactly.
by the way, I'm going to Brother Greg. I'm going to have you come back on sometime because Brother Gray is also on the board of Morris Brown College. He didn't tell you that, but but we want to have a discussion because I know his and he just got honored recently. I need to get that video. I understand it was very nice as well. So very, very proud of my baby brother. Maybe something he heard or something I showed him over the years might have inspired him a little bit.
Absolutely.
So but again, I just want to let you know is that that's what is that in family, building on our family is critical because at the end of the day, building that tribe is really, really, I think is critical to our well-being and our future sustaining. That we got to get that tribal, not tribal in an insular term, but tribal in a familial type of manner. I think we need to do that. So, Dr. Carter, you're going to call in every week and give me a commentary. Also, Brother Clarence, Minister Clarence, you're going to come in, call me every week and give me some words of wisdom from your latest sermon. And of course, like I said, and I'm going to get back to doing my mystic moments because I have some things that I want to elevate the discussion on. But I think this is for me, this is telling me that this is what we need to be. These are the conversations we need to be having during this time of greatness aspirations. So
Yes,
again,
sir.
I want to thank all of you for being here with us tonight. May God continue to bless us to be who we are, and that I think we reflect the type of dynamism that's necessary. And so thank you again, baby brother, and I'd like to thank Dr. Henry Card and of course Brother Clarence. Thank you for reaching out to your brother today, and Dr. Carter. As always, in other words, we need to keep this dialogue going and share it. Matter of fact, take this video and share it with some of your friends and have them to give you some feedback. We're just saying, hey, look, just take some time. You want to listen all at one time. Just listen a little bit by little bit. Take it in the bathroom with you when you're in there praying or whatever you do in the bathroom. Take it in there and rest with it. So with that having been said, I thank you all and have a blessed evening and stay safe. And to God be the glory.
To God be the glory. Good night.
Peace.
Glory.
Organize.
Yeah.
Okay. Take care and see y'all soon. Organized in the rural Sasquatch, Missouri, which means together we will win freedom now because we are beautiful people. Vision is a production of Mirror Observer Broadcast Network. Thank you for participating. You are part of this. It's about you, it's for you. Sit down with your family and have this discussion that we have here. And I think, I'm glad that my brother elevated the notion about Kwanzaa. Because we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to dig a little bit more into Kwanzaa and what we call the Kwanzaa 365 lifestyle as well. Again, thank you for being here with us. And hopefully that your appetite was fed tonight and that you can speak with peace and get up and continue to build a better world for those who stand for honor themselves and for those who stand on our shoulder, and they feel good about standing on our shoulder. Take a stand, stand your ground. Spirit dancer, bring the spirits down. Talking drama, make that sacred sound. Yes, Lord. It's our movement, and this is going down. Take a stand, stand your ground. And spirit dancer, bring the spirits down. You gotta hug somebody. Make that sacred sound. I can get a hug, but you give a hug. It's our movement, and this is going down. Of course, though. When sitting around, waiting on a miracle, this has become her daily ritual. Time to embrace the spiritual. Moves the tables and the chairs, takes off her shoes, time to leave behind her cares. We all got issues, but it's not the time to bear. If you let her, she'll take you somewhere. Take a stand, take a stand, stand your ground, stand your ground. She'll take you there. Talking drama, talking drama, make it, it's our movement, it's going down. Mesmerized by her circular motions, she has the power. This is her potion. You got the time, she'll inspire an ocean. Now's the time for you to get open. She wears the crown, be it home or in a new town. Men in attendance, they always bow down. Women adore the goddess they found. What the Creator has created, no man can destroy. The Creator has created, no man can destroy.